Hi there everyone, hope you're all well, hope all your families are safe and everyone's COVID free. So today's recipe we are looking at sweet corn and kidney bean tortilla stacks. First piece of advice is if you make this, take the extra time and make your own flour tortillas. I've got my own recipe for flour tortillas, find it up there or up there, I can't remember which side, I think it's that side, but it could be this, that the wee card comes up for YouTube. But make your own flour tortillas. Yes, ones from the shop are nice with this, and it's still a really nice meal with this, but it's just a completely next level with your own tortillas. And they're not hard. They're not hard. Half an hour, you've got your 8 tortillas that you need. So let's crack on and let's make our tortilla stacks. So first up we need to prepare our bell peppers. Now we do that by removing the top off of the bell pepper. I'm getting to use my new big chopper knife here and I'm loving it. But after you've removed the top, grab and just rip out the seed pod, then give the bell pepper a dunk on your chopping board to remove any loose seeds that are still inside it. Before removing the little bit of the stem there, and then we can chop down, and roughly chopping is what we're looking for the top part that's been left over. We then want to take in half the bottom part of the pepper before julienne it, which is what we see here as these long cuts are our juliennes. We're then going to turn 90 degrees and we're going to chop down into it, giving us small but not too small sections. And from there we just repeat with the other half of the pepper before going on to do our second pepper. And then it's just a case of sliding our pepper into a bowl and storing it until we're ready to use it. And because this is such an easy one, all we need to next do is remove the lids from our sweet corn, our kidney beans and our chopped tomatoes. And once the lids have been removed, just leave them sitting on top of the can, and we're going to then use them to hold the contents in whilst we drain out the liquid from both our kidney beans and from our sweet corn. We are then looking to measure out roughly 300 grams of extra mature cheddar cheese. You can use a less strong cheese, but the extra mature just really adds that bite of flavour to the dish. And we then want to roughly grate our cheddar, and then we're just going to set that aside and store that in a bowl until we're ready to use that as well. And now we can measure out 2 teaspoons worth of smoked paprika, and we're just going to measure that into a ramekin. And to the same ramekin we're going to add 2 teaspoons of table salt. And to a large saucepan, most likely your largest in a set of 3 or 4, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We now want to start warming the oil in our pan. We're going to bring it up to a medium-low heat so it doesn't need to be very warm, and at the same time we can also start preheating our oven to 180 degrees Celsius. That's on a fan oven setting. And once our oil is up to temperature, we're going to add our bell pepper chunks and we're going to cover that and cook it for 5 minutes. So a nice gentle cook for 5 minutes. Now, once the 5 minutes is up, we're then going to add our tomatoes, our sweet corn, our kidney beans, the smoked paprika, and the salt. We're then going to bring that up to a boil. Once it's achieved the boil, we're going to turn the temperature back down to about medium, and we're then going to simmer it for 20 minutes. The purpose of which is so that we can really reduce this down and thicken it up, as we don't want it to be liquidy at the end. We're looking for something nice and thick and reasonably dry to sit onto our tortillas. And once we have added all those ingredients, we're going to give it a good stir together before, as I say, cooking it for 20 minutes. Now, as the 20 minutes passes, stir it in frequently. We don't need to be doing it all the time, but we don't want anything sticking to the bottom of the pan either. So every now and again, come back and give it a bit of a stir. And what you will find is the closer you get to the end, the drier the mixture gets, the more you need to be careful with sticking, and that's when you really need to be up in your game for keeping it stirred. And once the 20 minutes is over, we're going to start serving it onto our tortillas in preparation for putting in the oven. Now, what size of spoonfuls you'll be putting on each layer will depend on the size of the tortillas you're using. More so if you've made your own homemade tortillas versus shop-bought ones. With that said, I tend to find you're talking 2 to 3 of these large kitchen spoons, roughly on your bottom layer, and then each subsequent layer will get 2 spoonfuls, on average. Visually what you're looking for is a nice thin layer on your tortilla. What to do is after you've put down your 2 layers, just spread it up together with the back of the spoon, pushing it out close to the edges. We don't want to spill it out past the edges, so we're looking to push it close to the edges. We then want to take and sprinkle a small amount. We're not looking for a huge amount. Look at the visual cues that I've got here for how much you're putting down. But we're going to sprinkle a small amount of cheese onto this layer. It's just to give a taste of the cheese through each layer that we're doing this. And next we add another layer of tortilla on top of our stack and just press it down lightly. And from here, we're going to add another layer of our corn and bean mix. This time it's going to be 2 spoonfuls almost certainly, because we don't want as heavy or as thick a layer on this layer or our next layer. The one that's going to get the thickest layer, if any layer is going to be thicker, is your bottom. That's just for ease of transference and moving things around when cooked. And then, just like on the first layer, it's another very fine sprinkling of cheese. Remember, the only point of the cheese going in here is to layer the flavours throughout the stack. And after the cheese, we're going to add another layer of tortilla, which we want to press down on lightly. It looks like actually on that footage, I only pressed down on one. I should have pressed down on both. That's what happens when you're thinking about camera more than thinking about your food. But press down lightly on your tortillas, that way it just compacts the layers down nicely. Not high pressure, just nice and light. And then once we've added all of our corn and bean mix, this will be the last of the corn and bean mix, so whatever you have left goes on it. Spread it around. Again, we're then going to add the cheese on top of that, which will again be another nice thin layer. And now we can add our 4th and final tortillas on top of both. This time I remembered to press both down. This on the final layer, you're going to press down a bit heavier, just to make sure everything's compacted and spread out as evenly as possible. And now we can add all of our remaining cheese. The remaining cheese should actually be quite a thick, heavy layer. It's not going to cover the entirety of the tortilla, but compared to your other layers, there's going to be an awful lot more cheese sprinkled out across the top of them. And now to your own taste requirements, we're going to sprinkle some dried coriander leaf across the top of the cheese. I like a really heavy coating here. I think it just adds, again, a really good depth to the flavour, but you sprinkle as much as you feel you like. And from here, we can whack them in the oven. We're going to be putting them in for 8 minutes on a fan oven setting at 180 degrees Celsius. And as soon as the 8 minutes is over, get them out of there. Now, unless you're very careful, this can be a ridiculously messy dish to serve. You wouldn't think so, but it can be. The best way to take your tortilla stacks and then get them off of your silicone liners is to use a pizza peel. It gets right underneath and it lifts everything out. Otherwise, you risk spilling it everywhere. It doesn't look like it, but trust me, it took a while to figure out how to do this one properly. From there, we want to cut into thirds our tortilla stacks, because each stack here, or each third, is a good portion for one person. So what we're getting overall is 6 portions. So cut them into thirds. When it comes to serving your individual thirds, I like to use a large slice such as this one. Again, you could use your pizza peel, but whatever you do, you are going to really need some sort of tool that can slide under most of your actual slice, and that way you don't get corn and bean mix everywhere, because it is a risk with this one.
As much as it doesn't look like, but I'm going to repeat it, it's a risk of you getting your fillings everywhere. And after that, it's just a case of repeating the exact same process with your second stack. So take it off your tray with your pizza peel, then third it, and then use whichever tool it is you want to transfer it to your plates and enjoy.
So there we go, sweet corn and kidney bean tortilla wraps. Dead easy, dead simple. Really, really lovely meal. If you want to spice it up a bit, add the chili pepper. My wife has an issue with chilies now. It looks like she's becoming intolerant to that, so we don't use it anymore. But the paprika without the chili is absolutely gorgeous. With a bit of chili, it adds a bit of heat. Depends which way you want to go. So let me have a wee bite of this. Sorry, big bite. Humongous bite, sorry. That's better. Gorgeous, but a million times better if you make your own flour tortillas. By all means, go out and buy flour tortillas, even use corn tortillas. Both work really well, but the little bit of extra time making your own, it just stratospheric elevates this meal beyond stuff that you buy in the shops. If you are buying stuff in the shops, I found the Mission ones to probably be the best. They work far better than the supermarket own brand ones, of which I've tried a few different ones. The Mission ones absolutely work the best for this meal. So, hope you make it, hope you enjoy it, and take care. Stay safe, folks. All the best.